How many have some areas of your life you're really proud of that feel really strong right now, right? How many got some areas that need a little ass kicking here to turn around? So we're gonna make sure we do that, and it's quite a journey. It's like life is seasons, right? And there's winter time, there's springtime, there's summer, and there's fall. Well, everybody loves springtime because it's easy. Things grow easily, you don't have to work at it, flowers pop out, it's a wonderful thing. If you start a business in springtime, you think you're just a genius because everything goes well and you just are starting in the right season, right? Then there's the summertime. You've been really working hard and now it gets harder. And all of a sudden it's hot and difficult and you gotta protect things and make sure they make it through the summer. Then there's fall where you get to reap like crazy. It also feels easy again. And then what follows fall is winter, where it can sometimes feel like winter's forever. But no pandemic is forever, no war is forever, no economy is forever. There's only one rule in life, everything changes. But we're here in the next few days, not just to make change, because quite frankly, change is automatic. You don't have to work on change. If you do nothing, the economy is gonna change. If the government does nothing, it's gonna change. That's the nature of things. If you do nothing, your relationships will change. If you do nothing, your body will change. Even if you do a lot of things, it will change. And so the real secret is not change. The real secret is change is automatic, progress is not. Progress requires consciousness, requires awareness. And so we're gonna develop some tools here because most of what influences us is our unconscious mind. Most of what influences us is habit. Researchers now say that more than 65% of what everybody does and thinks in an average day is pure habit. And if you think about it, most people have the same emotions pretty regularly, don't they? They get, happy, excited, pissed off, worried, frustrated, happy, excited, pissed off, worried, frustrated. There's patterns to emotions. There's patterns to how we deal with things. And the problem is we think we're our pattern, so we think there's something wrong with us. Well, that's usually because it's a pattern, it's a habit. And if you think it's something wrong with you, it's really hard to change you. But it's very easy to change a pattern. And what I've done is spent a lifetime studying patterns. And in that obsession for studying patterns, I found new patterns that can produce faster results, quicker and easier. And what you're gonna discover is they can actually be a lot of fun. It doesn't have to be a super painful experience. Now, sometimes we need enough pain to give us enough urgency to do what's necessary. How many of you have had something that you were supposed to deal with, meaning in your mind you said, I'm gonna deal with this, I'm gonna change this, I'm gonna handle this, and then you didn't? And you got pissed off with yourself and then said, I'm gonna do it this time, I'm really gonna do it, and you really got fired up and you didn't do it. So when that happens, it's because consciously you're trying to do one thing, but you've got an unconscious that wants something else. And what we wanna do is align them. And we're gonna show you how to do that, how to basically change your conditioning. Because if all you do is learn from this seminar, learning's nice, but knowledge is not power. Knowledge is potential power. Right? If you think about it, execution trumps knowledge every day of the week. Are you with me? So we want to execute. My job's help you execute. To get you to execute, we're gonna have to change some of those patterns. And to do it, it's gonna require enormous energy. And that's what we wanna bring to the table here. Even if you've not slept, even if you're tired, you're gonna discover there's a reservoir in you if you demand it. And then once you start demanding it, it'll just become natural and easy. I know you're gonna be seeing the sun go up and down in the middle of this in one day, and you're gonna have to really stay focused. And what'll keep you focused is engaging not just your mind, but your body. Because the body and mind can't be separated. Much of your mental thinking that's the same is because you use your body the same way. We have 38 different muscles in our face, 38. For most people, this is the largest area of unemployment in the country, right? They do the same looks each day and they feel the same feelings. But when you change your facial muscles, it literally changes blood flow to the brain and changes your biochemistry and changes your emotion. And so we're gonna discover these biohacks, these cheats, that if you know them, it's like knowing buttons to your own brain and you can make a change. On the beginning, it might feel a little hard, or certain hours it might feel a little hard, but if you push through it when you think you have nothing left, you'll find that second win, that third win, and you're gonna discover what you're capable of. Plus, how do you build a muscle? If you wanna build your bicep, you do curls. If you take a weight that's really light and do 100 curls, you're not gonna get stronger, you're gonna keep what you have. Because if you don't use it, you what? You lose it. So you gotta use it. So 100 curls is not a bad thing, but if the weight is relatively easy, there's not much improvement. So if you're comfortable the whole time you're here, that would be nice, but that's not my goal. My goal is not to make me comfortable here. I could do this in a way that's very comfortable for me, still push you, but I want to make sure you get maximum results. So to do that, we're going to lift some heavy weights. If you get a weight that's so heavy, you can barely do 8 curls. And the biggest part of this training to get your mind going, believe it or not, is to train your body as well. Because when the body is weak, do you ever wake up in the morning and your mind says, let's go get him, and your body says, I can't get out of bed? We have to get the body with the mind. And if you'll push yourself, you'll think you'll get tired. But I worked with a gentleman that was the first Anglo-American to win the Chinese full contact martial arts competitions 35 years ago. And I interviewed him because they, in those days, had those fights often went to the death in China. And he won, first Anglo-American to ever do that. And so I interviewed him. I said, how do you do it? He goes, when you go into these competitions, he goes, most people know they're going to be having 5 fights today. So they try to conserve their energy and hang on. And he said, while they're conserving, I destroy them. He said, what I do is, my belief is the more energy I expend, the more energy I have. It's like a turbocharger. If you'll trust yourself beyond what you're feeling in the initial moments and do what's uncomfortable, you'll discover the other side of it, which is tremendous growth and expansion. And 17% of people who had suicidal ideation had no more suicidal ideation. Here's what's better. You might say, well, Tony, I'm excited about this seminar, but will it last? Well, it'll last if you play full out, because you're going to change your conditioning. And I don't have to tell you that verbally. I know that from life experience, but I can now tell you scientifically. Because for those of you at home, they measured my body for 3 years doing what we do here. And they put this device on me. It's a $70,000 device, and it measures everything from heart rate variability to anything you can imagine. They did my saliva to figure out my hormones every break. Then they did that for people in the audience. Then they did it for you at home in 30 different countries. And the most amazing thing happened. Same results as we saw in the depression study, but even better, 1 year later, having never interacted with these people again, you can throw it up on the screen here, people had a reduction in, they have 85% empowered emotions, 40% more improved sense of peace, 60% decreased loneliness, 45% average level of stress reduction. It just, almost a year later. And the only reason it was 11 months instead of 12 is COVID was stopping, and they had all the stats during COVID so they could see. So I'm only telling you this because if you're skeptical, I can appreciate that. But I want you to know everything we're doing, including the stupid things like jumping, are a way of changing biochemistry. Here's what they found. As I teach, I go into a state and all of you follow me. If you see some people, let's say, rowing, and you watch it and you have connection, unconsciously, you start to do that in your own body. It's also how you can look at someone and feel what they're feeling. So mine's fairly highly developed since I've done this for a lifetime, right? But what's interesting is when they follow the audience's biochemistry, there's a state that the best athletes in the world go in. Tom Brady's down by 10 points. It's the fourth quarter. There's 2 minutes left, and he comes back to win the Super Bowl. How does he do it? If you watch, he goes into this zone. And it's like nothing stops him. Well, that zone is a surge in testosterone that explodes. That allows you to focus, and whatever you learn, you remember. It brings an emotional connection. It's like if I asked you, where were you on 9/11? How many remember the moment you heard about 9/11, where you were sitting, who was around you? Because information with emotion is remembered. If I asked you, where you on 8/11, unless something cool happened or something really terrible, you have no idea. So we're going to use our motion of our bodies, emotion, sound, to produce this, and that's also how we get the testosterone to explode. But here's what's interesting. Testosterone can create stress also. When we go into this state, they call it championship biochemistry. When you do this state over and over, you'll start experiencing it by the night or midday through this day if you play full out. You'll start feeling like, I'm tired, and you push yourself through it, and then this surge will happen. But then cortisol, which is the stress hormone, drops, which never happens. So you get rid of the things that would stop you, and you only have what drives you forward. And once you've learned how to trigger this, you'll be able to do this for the rest of your life. But I want you to know, I'm not into positive thinking. It's not about rah-rah. I don't believe in positive. I never taught positive thinking. I believe in intelligence. I believe in seeing things as they are, but not worse than it is. Because most people make it worse than it is, don't they? Why do people make it worse than it is? Like, oh, it'll never work, it'll never happen. Why do they do that? Because they're afraid of failing. We're all afraid if we fail, that says something even deeper.